And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
You know what? Since it was the end of the year, I thought I would give you guys a double introduction. What's going on, guys? Sorry for the double intro there. I just had the wrong one set up. Happy not Saturday, happy Friday. Welcome to a special Friday edition of the Winged Eagle Podcast, the final Winged Eagle Podcast of 2023. We have a big pay-per-view tomorrow from AEW World's End that we're going to be here watching and live reacting together to. So we were going to have to do a podcast today if we were going to get one in at all, and we haven't even predicted this pay-per-view yet, which is what we're here to do today. Along with the AEW World's End predictions, we're just going to briefly recap what we saw on Dynamite a couple of nights ago. It's already obsolete since the pay-per-view is tomorrow, but we had a couple of things transpire on the show that is relevant that we're going to talk about. Continental Classic finals and everything going on with the Masked Assailants and the Devil storyline in AEW. And it does look like, according to Tony Khan in the media call yesterday, that they are going to probably reveal the identity of the Devil in AEW tomorrow night at World's End. So we'll kind of talk about the circumstances there, what we might see, and what's going to go down with Samoa Joe and MJF in the main event of tomorrow night's show. In addition to all that, we're going to talk about a lot of wrestling news. We had a wrestling death, unfortunately, today. We're going to talk about WWE's big house show on the 26th in Madison Square Garden, where CM Punk returned to the ring. We're going to talk about Goldberg and some of the things he recently said about WWE and Vince McMahon in a podcast appearance. We'll talk about some AEW departures, WWE re-upping a couple of their talents, and a big Day One preview as well, with a big update from Fightful Select about an hour ago about WWE trying to nail down a big former world champion for Monday night that's going to be here in San Diego. So we'll talk about that. Chris Jericho was spreading the Christmas cheer at 4:30 in the morning on Christmas Day. We'll talk a little bit about that drunk tweeting escapade. We'll talk about Camille finishing up with the NWA, a few news and notes on the Iron Claw movie. Like I said, we'll recap Dynamite Scotty 2 Hottie appearance before the show, which was pretty cool. And we will predict the entire World's End card, which does have a lot of matches on there. They added a bunch this week, including a couple on the 0 hour. We got a Battle Royal, and it's a pretty solid stacked show for tomorrow. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So that's pretty much what's on your menu for today. Hope everyone had a great holiday and are having a great holiday. Hope you had a great Christmas. We have New Year's Day coming up here on Monday. You're really not going to not see me much between now and 2024. The only day we're going to be off is Sunday for New Year's Eve, as I will be busy at work. But New Year's Day, we're going to be right here reviewing WWE Raw Day One. So you'll be seeing a lot of me 3 out of the next 4 days. You get me today, you get me tomorrow, and you get me on Monday. So that should be a lot of fun. Let's say hello to everybody here in the chat. Happy Friday. I have to keep reminding myself that it's Friday, not Saturday, because it feels like Saturday. But good to see all of our friends. Let's start with the channel members like Garrett Osborne and Max Pokebra. Not as many as I thought in here, but good to see Gilbert as well. Ben Espinoza, Shell Shock, Sonic Plays. We got David Brown. We have Big J, DJ, and JL. That's a lot of J's, man, going on there. And Rodrigo in the house. Happy holiday weekend to you all. The Juliet sticking her head in here as well. So you guys know the deal. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me. We recently passed 40,000 subscribers here on the channel, so we're now trying to push to 50,000. So if you could please hook us up with a subscription, hit that notification bell, all that jazz. I would appreciate that. And if you would like to support even further and become a member, you can click a link in the description box below that will take you over to all of that stuff if you want to really, really support. But if I have your eyes, your ears, your like, and your subscription, Greg's a happy guy, trust me. And I also want to thank everyone again for yet another tremendously fun year here on the channel. This is one of the most fun I've ever had here on the channel, just because of the headlines. The last couple of years have just been crazy headlines in wrestling that have really kind of woken up the wrestling business. And as somebody who's been on YouTube for, 14 years now doing this, it's nice to have things to talk about, substantial things to talk about. It's really helped business. It's made the whole thing a lot more fun. And you guys have been tremendous throughout all of this. Many of you have been with me since the beginning. Some of you 5 years, some of you 10 years, some of you 1 year, regardless. Thanks again for another great year here on the channel. And now we go into 2024, year number 14, which is just crazy that it's been that long. So I just wanted to give you guys one final thank you. We're going to be hanging out tomorrow as well for World's End, but just want to thank you again for another great year of support. It's always a pleasure, guys, for real. But In terms of what we're going to see tomorrow, it's going to be World's End. We'll be here live before the main card starts. So as of right now, not planning on being here for the 0 hour, although there is 2 matches on the 0 hour, but I'll probably come in a little bit past midway through the 0 hour. We will come up here live and be ready to rock and roll for the main card and maybe catch the end of that battle royal or something. So join us tomorrow night for day one. The link to tomorrow's live reaction is already up on the channel, so you can go save that for tomorrow and join us and hang out with us on Saturday afternoon and watch some good wrestling from AEW. I have a feeling it's going to be a great show. Like I said, Sunday, we're off for New Year's Eve, so no video planned, but Monday is WWE's big Day One episode of Monday Night Raw, January 1st edition, that is going to be headlined by a big championship match, Seth Rollins defending against Drew McIntyre. They've got Becky Lynch and Nia Jax on the show as well. A couple of other big matches lined up for this. And, we might even see a title change. You never know. I personally kind of think no. I think Rollins and Drew are going to face each other again at the Royal Rumble. That's just what I suspect. If the plan is to have Punk and Rollins at WrestleMania, who's Rollins going to face it at Royal Rumble? The issue between him and Drew has gotten pretty heated in the last couple of weeks. I can't imagine them just having this match here on Monday and then being done with it, and then Seth finds a completely different opponent to feud with and wrestle for the title at the Royal Rumble. Doesn't sound like that would be how they would normally do things, right? So I feel whatever we see on Monday, whatever kind of finish we get in that match, whether it's a title change or not, it will lead to a rematch at the Royal Rumble. And I still think Damian Priest cashing in either on Monday or at the Rumble or at WrestleMania is still very much in play. Now, there has been a development in Monday Night Raw, or Monday's Raw show. This is an update from Fightful Select about an hour ago. Here's what they had to say about the show. And I quote, WWE is looking to add to their Day One edition of Raw. Sources within WWE, while speaking vaguely, claimed that the company is, quote, on the 1 yard line in landing a former WWE champion to appear on the show, and they feel confident that they can get the deal done. We haven't been given a specific name, but we're told it was someone not currently on their roster. It's worth noting that former WWE champion was the terms used by those sources. We asked if the name was one that was active or a retired talent, but weren't given any info on that. We'll continue to work to provide some more details as we get them. So, sounds like WWE is planning, I don't know, a surprise. Like, who do you think this could be? Someone that would actually require negotiations. People are like, oh, it's Brock Lesnar. I mean, would it really be, we just saw Brock at SummerSlam. It's not like Brock's been gone for a while. Even if Brock showed up, it's not like that would be earth-shattering news. And it shouldn't be something that the company's, going to start leaking out some vague comments about it or some vague clues that WWE is going to bring in a champion. As much as I love Brock and think he's one of the greatest of all time, if he came back on Monday, my jaw wouldn't hit the ground or anything. I'm like, oh, Brock's back. It's Mania season. Not surprised, type of thing. So I feel like it wouldn't be Brock. It's not like he's been gone. We just saw him wrestle, 4 or 5 months ago against Cody. So I can't see them making this big of a deal about Brock. Plus, we don't even know really Brock's WWE contract status and if he's set to come back or if he's got more time or matches left. We don't even know. We're going to be talking about Goldberg in a few minutes. And I'm not going to be kind to Billy Goldberg, that's for sure. But I suppose this champion could be Bill Goldberg, I suppose. Mercedes Moné could be another one. She just filed for a bunch of trademarks, apparently, which is kind of evident that she might be sticking with the Mercedes Moné name for a while, which implies she might not be heading back to WWE after all. Nobody knows what the hell Sasha is going to do. So it could be Sasha. It definitely could be a woman. So, having Sasha Banks return could be awesome, but I don't even know who could be on the radar. I saw people mentioning Big E and stuff. I'm like, no, it's not. Big E isn't something that they would have to be on the negotiating table for, It's got to be somebody currently not on their roster. And I'm assuming someone who hasn't been there in a while. You think of Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock. None of those names feel like who they're talking about here. So who are they talking about? Who are some of the former champions we've seen just in the last, 10 years or so? I'm trying to even think. Give me some ideas here. Batista is a good one with the Hall of Fame coming up. You have to wonder about Batista. He's still owed one from 4 years ago now when the pandemic hit, and he still hasn't gone in. And since WrestleMania is in Philly, maybe they want to save that for Heyman, but maybe not the headliner. Maybe Bray Wyatt is going to be the headliner. And I think Batista was only going to come back and do the Hall of Fame if he could be the headliner. But if there's one exception that could be made there, Bray Wyatt could be it. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think Dave Batista, knowing who he is as a person, would probably be cool if he wasn't the headliner and the night belonged to Bray Wyatt. I'm perfectly confident saying that Batista would have no problem stepping aside there. So, that might be the one exception. Yeah, Batista is going to come back when he can be the headliner, but if it's for Wyatt, then I can't imagine Batista making a stink. No, forget it. I'll do it next year. I don't want to share the spotlight with Bray Wyatt. There is no way Batista would be that way about his Hall of Fame induction. So Batista is a very good possibility. Right now, I think Batista's kind of in the lead in terms of securing a former WWE champion, because they're not saying coming in to wrestle or do anything, and Batista makes the most sense because of the Hall of Fame. So I'm kind of on the Batista train there. I feel like it could be him. It's not Alberto Del Dipshit. No, fuck him. It's definitely not Alberto. It's not Jericho. Unfortunately, no, it's not Jericho. No, Rodrigo. I don't think it's Dolph Ziggler either. As a matter of fact, I think we have a very good chance of not seeing Dolph Ziggler on Monday, but seeing him tomorrow. So there's that battle royal. There's that battle royal for a TNT title shot anytime, any place. I got to think. We'll talk about that in a minute, but I think Dolph is a big possibility there. So is Jungle Boy. So is Kill Switch. I think could all possibly win that battle royal. But Dolph, I don't see this being the person that WWE is talking about. I don't think it's Triple H. Triple H is negotiating with himself to bring himself in. Is that what's happening? Juliet. Undertaker, no, I just can't see it being him either. I don't think it would be a negotiation type of thing. I think it would be Triple H calling, hey, Mark, you want to make a Raw? You want to come in? Catering's great that day. We're in San Diego. Best Mexican food you'll ever find. Come on. Mark's like, yeah, sure, I'll be there. There's no going to the negotiating table for someone like him. So it feels like Batista would make more sense. Again, Sid isn't another guy, Ryan. I don't think WWE's going to have to really struggle to get Sid. You know what I mean? If they want Sid to come in for an appearance or something, he'll probably do it. But Sid is a good possibility, especially when you think about the same reasons as Batista, the Hall of Fame. And when we talked about the Hall of Fame last week in the podcast, I uploaded a mic drop on that too. Sid was one of the names we talked about. He absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. So Sid could work. I don't know if I'm not getting the Sid vibes from this. And I'm not getting Hogan or Brett either. Well, maybe Brett. I can't see it being Hogan. I hope it's not Hogan. Now that Vince is gone, I'm hoping that Triple H just doesn't get the itch to, want to use or bring in Hogan for any reason, because WWE is so white hot right now. There is nothing positive that Hogan can bring. There's nothing that Hogan could bring in an appearance that would elevate interest in WWE anymore. If anything, it might be a turn off. So I can't see it being Hogan either. Great Khali, who knows? Yeah, it could be a lot of people, but I think, we've used several Fox star. We've used Alberto Del Fuckface. We've used Alberto Del Shithead, Alberto Del Dipshit. We have at least 5. What else have we used? Our Alberto Del Cockface. We've used a lot. I'm glad to see that he has so many popular nicknames out there, but we do not like Alberto Del Rio on this channel, and we haven't for a long time. So I definitely can't see it being Vince, and no Spectra, good to see you, but it's not going to be Vince McMahon either. Right now, I think Batista is the one that really makes the most sense, because you can tie his appearance in with the Hall of Fame. And on day one, what a perfect day to announce the first inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame. And then maybe they announce Bray Wyatt as the headliner later, unless for some reason Bray does not go in this year. And if that's the case, I'm sure WWE will have their own reasons for that. I'm not going to freak out if they don't put Bray Wyatt in, because he could always go in next year. Maybe there's a reason they want to delay it. We don't know. But I feel like Wyatt should be the headliner 100%. So Batista coming in, HBK coming in. No, Rodrigo, he already works there. He's already there in NXT. I don't think you'd have to really, negotiate to get a deal done to bring Shawn in for one night on Raw. He was just there a couple months ago. So yeah, I don't think it's anybody that's currently already under, within WWE's reach. You know what I mean? That's why Batista does seem to be the leading candidate so far. So we'll keep our eye on that. And Monday night, we might be getting a blast from the past. That will be nice. Let's talk about some wrestling news. We have some sad news to report today. The wrestling world lost a good one, man. British wrestling star Curtis Chapman, a.k.a. Mad Kurt, dies at age 26. He was, I guess, working for Rev Pro. They tweeted out the news today about his passing. I want to say, like, when I was like, Mad Kurt, I've seen him before. He's a really funny guy, apparently. He had some legendary trolls on Austin Aries and was just a really kind of funny dude, funny young guy. And he had an outpouring of love on social media today from everybody who learned about his passing. And I'm pretty sure his Twitter account is got suspended or something, but I'm pretty sure he followed me on Twitter, because when I saw some screen caps of his tweets and his trolls, I'm like, oh, he's interacted with me before and liked some of my stuff or commented or something. And I've seen him a few times. So I didn't really put together that was him. But that's sad, because dying at age 26, no details of his death. That's between the family and all of that. So we don't know. We don't even speculate. But one thing we do know is that he did not die of old age. And also, there was no news or reports of a car accident or anything like that. So when you rule out old age, and illness and car accidents, it really, really gives you a small list of possibilities of what it could be. So just condolences to his family, his friends, his peers, everybody who worked with him. Really, really beloved British wrestling star, and really, really young. And who knows how he would have, blossomed and grown and filled out. He kind of had that like Will Ospreay body type when he was young, but then as we saw Will, grow into, a very, good sized pro wrestler with some presence to him. And Mad Kurt was somebody that everybody spoke very highly of, and everyone got a kick out of. Just lots of cool love and support today on social media from everybody who worked with him and knew him and got a chance to interact with him. It's a really, really sad death. So condolences to the friends and family of Curtis Chapman. Very, very sorry to hear about that. Let's talk about some positive news in wrestling. WWE held their day after Christmas MSG show. That is an annual thing for them. Begins their holiday tour, their WWE holiday tour. The talent had the Christmas week off to spend with their family, but the very next day they were right back at it, back in Madison Square Garden. And as of a couple of weeks ago, this show had sold about 15,000 tickets for a house show. None of the girls wear makeup. Everybody just wears whatever they brought with them. Like, the house shows are just, people just go out there and just fuck around. House shows are just house shows. So the fact that they're selling this amount of tickets is insane. Now, they moved an extra 5,000 plus tickets when it was announced that CM Punk would be making his return to the ring, to a WWE ring, to face Dominic Mysterio on this show. And I was really looking forward to that, seeing the videos and everybody who was attending the show. There was a lot of fan cam footage rolling around of this, and the building was just packed. A lot of videos of CM Punk's entrance, just with the crowd going absolutely nuts. And a lot of the footage with him and Dominic. And this is so cool because Punk and Dominic, they do go way back. Dominic was like in the ring with Ray when Punk was doing the Straight Edge Society thing, and they were feuding, and they've had some interactions before. And I know Punk knew Dominic when he was little. And the fact that he was able to work with him here has just got to be a trip for both of them. And that was a pretty awesome and perfect, if you ask me, first opponent for CM Punk, because Dominic's got the Dominic heat. And he's definitely somebody that Punk isn't going to have any personal issues with. Punk has, I'm sure, the utmost respect for Rey Mysterio, and there's no way he's going to disrespect his son in any way. So Dominic was the perfect heel to put in there with Punk, just to maximize Punk cheers and, maximize Dominic boos. And it was pretty awesome. All the little clips and videos that we saw from the event looked fun. Apparently CM Punk got his gear, the gear that he was going to wear was the wrong size, or it didn't fit him, or he had something wrong with it. I didn't put down the tweet, but our friend Ibu of Wrestling Purist the other day prior to the show tweeted out that Punk was having some gear issues. And then when you see the footage of the match, he's just wearing black. So that's a shame that he didn't get to wear his Punk gear, but the match looked like it was pretty fun. Very loud "You Still Got It" chants in the very beginning of the match directed at CM Punk. And this sparked a lot of the same opinion online floating around that I was kind of surprised at. And what I was seeing from people who were quote tweeting that video, it was all the same thing. This right here, this is what they said. This here is proof that the WWE audience just doesn't know about anything else. They think this is Punk's first match back in 10 years because the WWE audience is loyal to the WWE product. They don't pay attention to what else goes on out there. They don't watch any other wrestling promotions. And this is good proof right here that these fans don't know that AEW exists. For real? For real. Okay, let's just analyze that opinion here for a second. Now, first of all, let me acknowledge that, yes, I am very much aware that a big portion of WWE's audience, especially kids, are oblivious to the rest of the wrestling world. WWE has their fans and their fans only. Yes, that is true. But it's not that these fans that are so loyal to the WWE product don't know that another wrestling company exists. I mean, it's the information age. When I was 6 years old and only knew WWE, even I knew other wrestling companies existed because I had magazines and I could fucking read, or I could see anyway. Might not have been able to read at 6. Can you read at 6? I don't even know. I don't know if I could or not, but I was aware that other wrestlers existed because I could see in magazines. This was before the internet, before TV, before cable, before going to Target and picking out a WWE action figure and seeing the AEW ones right there. So yes, the WWE fan base, the most loyal ones, very much will only watch them. But there is no way they are unaware that CM Punk returned to another company 2 years ago. There might be some fans, but it's not that many fans that were truly, completely unaware that CM Punk has been wrestling for another company for the last 2 years. So I kind of was disagreeing with that opinion because it was just silly. I'm like, look, I know WWE's, a fan base like that can be very loyal to a brand. I get that. I've been that way. I was very loyal to the WWE during the Monday Night Wars. But I still knew WCW existed. I didn't know. It was not like I thought WWE was it. And nowadays with TikTok, you mean all these kids with their TikToks and their fucking Instagrams and all that are scrolling through there and they're never seeing anything from AEW, from CM Punk. Madison Square Garden, WWE themselves have always acknowledged Madison Square Garden fans, their Madison Square Garden fans, as generally smarter than the average fan. If there's any building, if there's any arena other than Chicago that's going to be aware of what CM Punk has been up to for the last 2 years, it's Madison Square Garden. This is not Mobile, Alabama. This is not Deer Shit, Arkansas. This is Madison Square Garden. These fans know what's up, and I think fans used that as a way to jump on, and maybe perhaps, do shade throwing at AEW. I'm not sure. They don't even know they exist. Bullshit. You've all been to a WWE show. You've all been to wrestling shows. What happens when people chant? Other people join in. This is no different than You Deserve It or What or anything like that. If fans are chanting, You Still Got It at CM Punk, that does not mean that all of those fans don't know that he's been wrestling for 2 years. It just means when a stupid chant starts, everybody else joins in. And they might be chanting, You Still Got It in the context of WWE because we have not seen CM Punk in a WWE ring in 10, count them, years. So I don't feel like the chant was unjustified, but I was laughing that the fans were like, oh, see, nobody knows who AEW is. I'm like, this is Madison Square Garden. Ring of Honor sold out Madison Square Garden. The fans in Madison Square Garden definitely know that CM Punk has wrestled prior to this in AEW. They definitely know that. I don't think the chant meant this is the fans saying they're unaware of what Punk's been doing for the last 24 or 26 months or whatever. So I think Madison Square Garden fans are a little smarter than that. I just think this was a case of when people start chanting stuff, everybody else joins in, and that's all that it was. But it was still really cool to see CM Punk in a WWE ring. Madison Square Garden even gave Punk a gift that was posted on WWE's, I think, YouTube or social media, where prior to his match, he got a little gift from them. He unwrapped it, and it was like a little commemorative plate commemorating his first match in WWE in 10 years, which is just funny. This guy walks right back in the door. He's getting presents from the arenas that he's wrestling in. How must this make the other wrestlers in the company feel? Knowing how he left, knowing how he dragged their name through the mud for the entire 10 years he was gone. And then when everything went to hell in AEW, he had no choice but to come back to WWE. And now it's like, oh, welcome back. We loved you so much. I mean, it's the way it is. I mean, the same thing we went through the same thing with Hogan. When he came back in 2002, I'm like, really? This guy is getting these this warm welcome. You remember the 10-minute long ovation he got on SmackDown? He was crying, when they put the belt right back on him. I had the same feelings back then. I'm like, do we want to be doing this? Do we want to be kissing this guy's ass to this degree? Somebody that has been so horrible to the company, but it's the nostalgia thing. And it was just the name Hulk Hogan, what it did to the fans to see him back in that environment for the first time in 10 years. A lot of that is the same thing happening here with CM Punk. And it's just pretty funny how well he's been treated, how happy he seems to be, how happy WWE seems to be with him. And what a crazy world. And things are getting better with CM Punk. He's also revealed on his Instagram that he is teaming up and collaborating with Roots of Fight for a merchandise line. So he's going to get some t-shirts and whatnot, and that's a great brand. They do a lot of Bret Hart stuff. I've got some of their stuff, and Roots of Fight is going to have some pretty awesome Punk merch, I would assume. Apparently, he's partnering or collaborating with his friend in Rancid, Lars Fredrickson, on designing some of this stuff. So it's going to be some pretty cool punk rock looking merch here from CM Punk coming up. So far, it's been, a month now since Punk has been back in the company. And I think that when you try to envision in your head best case scenario, we're looking at it right now. I think so far, this is the best case scenario that WWE could have asked for. And granted, it's early. And like I've repeated many, many times, you have to remember when CM Punk came back to AEW, he was very happy there too for the first few months. He had his arm around everybody, arm around Hangman Page, putting over Jungle Boy, loved the Elite, and then all shit the bed. So let's not get too excited yet and just see how it goes. But so far, so good for CM Punk. I'm really excited to see his WrestleMania program kickoff. It might start as early as Monday since Seth has a big title shot. And of course, the Royal Rumble. We could be looking at a Punk and Cody final. It's going to be a fun 2024, the way it's all set up. CM Punk, do us all a favor. Stay healthy. Don't get hurt. Thanks. Let me see. Who's next on our list here? Well, actually, before we talk about this, let me cruise to the chat because I want to say hello to a couple of people, knock out some super chats, and thank the Juliet, who I think is in here gifting out memberships again. But we'll get to that in 1 second. Let me say thank you and hello to our channel member friend, Spectra. Appreciate the $2, dude. Happy World's End weekend, Greg. Hope you enjoy it. I intend to. I'm off. I took the day off tomorrow so I could watch this pay-per-view with you guys. So, Spectra, hopefully you can join us tomorrow night for the PPV. There we go. Making sure we're good. I also want to say hi to Chaz Medeiros. Good to see you, my friend. Anybody else that's been showing up, welcome. Let me see who's my next super chat here before we get into the Goldberg stuff. Oh, Spectre, we got 5 more from you. I don't know, man. Who should induct Bray Wyatt? I feel like Bliss is the one, but I can see arguments for Randy or Braun if AEW does a Hall of Fame. Sting, the first inductee. Yeah, if AEW did a Hall of Fame, Sting might be a perfect first inductee because I think Sting is the first inductee into the TNA Hall of Fame, right? So that would be cool if he went in. Otherwise, if it wasn't Sting, I might have to say like Jericho or Moxley, something like that. One of the, the originals that were there really getting it off the ground. Maybe even a Kenny Omega if they want to wait another, 7 or 8 years before they start that. I think it's a little too early to do a AEW Hall of Fame unless they do like one name per year for the first few years, because you can't have WWE sized classes in AEW. It's not that old. It's 4 years old. WWE can do this because they've been around for 6 decades, but AEW hasn't even been around for half a decade. So I don't know how much, Hall of Fame worthy stuff you could really do. So I would take it slow on an AEW Hall of Fame. An AEW Hall of Fame definitely does need to come into existence at some point, but I'm in no rush to see it. But Sting is a phenomenal first choice, I think, for an AEW Hall of Fame. Great suggestion. The Juliet, appreciate $2. Will Vince McMahon appear at WrestleMania 40? I say no. We don't need him. WrestleMania 40, the only reason I might be somewhat open to it because it's WrestleMania 40. 40 is a big deal, man. WrestleMania 1 to 40, there's always the possibility of Vince going into the Hall of Fame at some point. But Vince making an appearance at WrestleMania 40, do you need it? If anything, it would just be, special to Vince to make an appearance, at the 40th anniversary of the event that he created that, was WWE Super Bowl. I could understand wanting him there, but I don't know. I don't know the Juliet. I don't know what the right answer. Me personally, I don't ever need to see his stupid face again. Ever. 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 But if I have to, I have to. So I won't complain. Oh, it's not the Juliet. It's Nicole. I'm sorry. I thought it was a Juliet passing out them channel memberships. It wasn't. It was our friend Nicole Lansing gifting out 5 Good Micro Commentaries memberships. Thank you so much for that. Looks like we've got Red Raven, Lee T, Sonic Plays, Mike Rouse, and Ben all receiving those from Nicole. Nicole, we love you. You're the best. Thank you so much for hooking up our friends. Now they can get some access to some of our members-only content. But thank you so much for that. Right on. All right. Garrett Osborne, I think Brody Lee. Are you talking about inducting Bray Wyatt? Brody Lee, you probably mean Hall of Fame. I thought you were making a joke. I'm like, come on. You mean AEW Hall of Fame. Brody Lee would be a good one as well. However, one thing I will say about Brody Lee is that AEW never has to worry about not treating Brody Lee's legacy with the proper amount of respect. They have been amazing to not only him, but his family. I think even -1, who's now starting to get a little tall. A kid was out there almost as tall as Tony Khan last night or on Wednesday. I think they brought out -1 because we recently just had the anniversary of, I think it was the day after Christmas, right? That Brody Lee passed away. I retweeted my tweets from that day. I remember I was in the car. I had just gotten onto the freeway heading to work, and I had my phone on my magnet dash holder there, and I just kind of clicked on Twitter, and I saw it and tweeted my shock from my car as I was driving, and I'll never forget learning that death. But Brody Lee would be a good one, but at the same time, I think AEW is definitely doing right by Brody Lee's legacy. He doesn't need to be the first inductee into the AEW Hall of Fame to, for me as a fan to be satisfied. He can be the first one. That's great. But in my mind, he doesn't have to be. But yeah, Brody Lee is definitely a good suggestion there from Garrett. Let's talk about our friend William Goldberg. Oh, geez. Goldberg, who never shuts up. He was a guest on the Steve and Captain Evil podcast. And when he was asked about his current relationship with Vince McMahon, Goldberg said this, and I quote, "Vince is like Dana White. He's the big boss and he makes everything happen. But in all honesty, he gave me the opportunity to put my wife and my son in the front row and gave me the ability to perform again in front of them. So I owe him everything. Until we went to Saudi Arabia and he asked me to put Roman Reigns over and I had COVID. I did not know he had COVID. I remember calling him from my house and said, listen, here's the deal. I'll do it if you give me a retirement match. So I put myself in a horribly shitty situation to get what I wanted, but to get what I wanted to, but to satiate him and give him what he wants. The problem is he never held up his part, so Vince is a piece of shit as far as I'm concerned." I don't even know what to make of this. Goldberg is so up his own ass. It drives me crazy. This guy, he was definitely a memorable part of the Monday Night Wars. He was, I think, the only homegrown star WCW really truly ever made. And he was popular as all hell. And even when he came back all of those years later in 2016, and I was really hesitant about it, and the way he squashed Brock Lesnar, I was one of the only people defending it. I said, I just like to be shocked. Shit was sucking back then. So anything that would just, throw the wrestling world on its ear or something, I was all for. So I kind of liked, when crazy shit happened back then. And I was never a fan of Goldberg. Didn't like him in WCW. Thought his WWE run was shit. Never really was a believer in him or his ability. I thought he was just a reckless fucking grizzly bear that had a terrific look and was right place, right time. But, that manufactured record and all the BS they did with him didn't really appeal to me. I was more about the Austins and the Rocks and the Triple H's and the Takers and the Mankinds. I liked those gimmicks and characters more than Bill Goldberg. So I never really liked him at all. But when he came back in 2016, it felt so right to me. Even the squash on Goldberg, and when shortly after that, you could see what they were going to do, and that the rematch was going to come at WrestleMania. Brock would get his win back, and it was going to be for the title. I was okay with that. I didn't love the fact that Kevin Owens had to lose to this guy, and he hasn't been world champion since. I still think that's a little bit fucked up. But the fact that Goldberg's return was short, it was concentrated, It didn't overstay its welcome. It didn't allow the fans to get bored with him because Goldberg, it's not like he ain't Kurt Angle. You know, his matches are short and simple and very Ultimate Warrior-like, and that's going to have a shelf life in modern wrestling. And on top of that, he's 85 years old. So, you know, in my mind, the Goldberg return, while I was hesitant of it at first, I was like almost immediately made into a believer. You can go back and listen to my Survivor Series review from that year, and I was putting the whole thing over. I'm like, this is great. I loved it. You know, and then when you get into 2017, granted, I didn't love Goldberg winning the title from Kevin Owens, but when you saw what that was going to mean, okay, he's going to beat Owens for the title, go into WrestleMania, have the rematch with Brock, lose, and retire. And to me, that was the perfect way to book a Bill Goldberg return. And they did. Everything worked out perfectly. Brock and Goldberg do the deal at Survivor Series, and then what? Goldberg humiliates him again. Can I say humiliates? Humiliates him again at the Royal Rumble, right? Then Goldberg beats Kevin Owens, and now you get the WrestleMania rematch at WrestleMania 33. I even think it was a good match. It was a good match, I thought. Brock Lesnar beat him, got the win back, winning the championship. And then the next night on Monday Night Raw was actually a really nice send-off of Bill Goldberg. It was weird when he brought his 8-year-old son, shirtless son, into the ring or whatever, but the fact that Goldberg was able to do something that felt personal to him, what he wanted to do is to have his son watch him wrestle. He wanted to wrestle in front of his family to show them what he used to do and who he used to be. And WWE gave him that. And they gave that to him in a major way. He squashed their most dominant star of the last 2 decades in a pay-per-view main event, and then went on to have a pretty nice little program with him, and then dropping the belt back to him, and then coming out on Raw. And I even remember in his speech when the fans started getting shitty, he was like, hey, you know what? This is important to me. I'd appreciate it if you just let me talk. And like the way he kind of delivered that line to the audience, I'm like, you know, we need to respect this. And that whole scenario from 2016 to 2017 made me change my view on Bill Goldberg. I was like, you know what? That was a nice send-off. That puts a nice little bow on his career. This gives us the proper closure that we didn't have before. And if that would have been the final time we ever saw Bill Goldberg, I would have remembered Bill fondly. I would have very little bad things to say about him now. And I would have felt good as a fan about how his career wrapped up, the way it wrapped up. And looking at it from someone else's perspective, you know, if I'm in Bill's shoes, that is the perfect way to go out. Losing to the biggest, baddest motherfucker this business has ever seen, a guy who you've beaten twice, and then beats you in the final match. There's no better way to go out than that. And I don't know who sparked the return business, if it was WWE or if it was Bill who got the itch to come back or whatever. He had more dates left on his contract, but then he comes back. And then every single thing he did from the time that he lost that title at WrestleMania 33 has been garbage, uninteresting, waste of time. His programs don't benefit anybody but himself. He keeps winning. And then the fucking debacles in Saudi Arabia, and he's had a bunch. He damn near killed The Undertaker there in probably the worst match of all time. That's what Goldberg can know belongs in his legacy. He is a participant in the worst match of all time. Then they have him beat The Fiend, which is fucking crazy. Or maybe The Fiend victory came first. I don't remember. Then he had the Roman Reigns match where he put him over, claims he had COVID, and he's only doing this job to WWE's next big star if he can get a retirement match. No, Bill, you got Saudi Arabia paydays. You should be more. He's acting like he's doing WWE some big favor. Okay, I'll go get paid $2 million to get beat by the best in the world. Like, that's fucking crazy, man. The ego this asshole has is mind-blowing. You should be thanking WWE for having them think enough of you to have Roman Reigns beat you and have that name, your name, as a feather in his cap. Plus, it's a Saudi Arabia show, which means your payday is 7 figures. What the hell are you complaining about? Because you didn't get another send-off? Because to me, Goldberg's retirement was in 2017, the night after WrestleMania 33. That was his retirement. Anything he did after that, to me, was his fault. You know, well, you're not going to get, it's like Flair. You know, Flair fucked his retirement up. You're not going to get another one. That last match shit that he had where he's a mess, you know, is what he's going to remember now, and not the great, beautiful send-off that he had at WrestleMania and that Hall of Fame and Monday Night Raw the next night. And Goldberg kind of had the same thing, and now it has been undone, and now he still feels like he's owed some sort of a send-off. Nobody wants you to have a send-off. I mean, I'm sure Goldberg still has his fans out there, but I doubt there's too many people out there that are really loudly and aggressively advocating for him to have a proper send-off or be retired in the proper way. He's already done all of that. And now with Vince gone, unless Goldberg is this name that WWE is apparently talking to for Monday night, I feel like it's Batista. But if it's Goldberg, then maybe this is Triple H's way of shutting him up. All right, Bill, let's bring you in here, get you that fucking retire match, and then get you out of our lives. But I don't think that's what they're doing here. But I think Goldberg being so pissy about this retirement match, and he's such an asshole. That's the thing about him. I know nobody's a big fan of Riddle, these days, but that little interaction they had a couple of years ago at SummerSlam where Goldberg's, trying to act tough around him. I'm like, Riddle would fuck you up, if you got into any sort of real scuffle with him. And the way this guy is just one of these douchebag, like fake alphas is just drives me fucking crazy. And he's got such a fucking massive ego. And Goldberg was a big part of the Monday Night Wars, of WCW success, of the Attitude Era, of that time period. I get it. He's a legendary Hall of Fame name. People still remember him. But do we need this guy having matches in 2024? No, the dude was past his prime in 2004. It's 2024 now. And I just don't see how having him do anything benefits WWE, the wrestling business at all. I think he's done more than enough, way more, and I think he should have been done 5 or 6 matches before he's actually done. So maybe AEW wants to give him that retirement match. Tony Khan's a big fan of Goldberg. I think in the same podcast he mentioned, wanting to be a part of Sting's retirement. So maybe he's a surprise at Revolution. Maybe Sting's match, whatever it is, multi-man thing, we don't even really know yet what he's going to do at Revolution. But if it's some sort of big match where things start breaking down and Sting and Darby and whoever are getting beaten down, maybe Goldberg comes out to make the save. But then again, you take an awful lot away from Sting's retirement if you're bringing back Goldberg in the same match. But maybe Tony Khan and Goldberg can strike up a deal and use Sting's retirement as the bridge. Okay, let's bring you in to be a part of that. Maybe a part of his send-off or something like that the Wednesday on Dynamite, where you can come out. And then when that's done, we'll give you a retirement match. And then AEW can be the final resting place for Sting, for Goldberg, and for possibly Adam Copeland. There's a lot of Hall of Fame careers that could end inside an AEW ring. And maybe that's something Tony Khan wants to do. Well, WWE doesn't want to give him his retirement match, but I'll do it. And now I got Sting and Goldberg's retirement match under my umbrella. Granted, Goldberg could still go back to WWE if he wanted to, but let's hope we don't have to worry about a 78-year-old Bill Goldberg having any matches. So that's something that I guess could still happen if Goldberg's really this butthurt about WWE not giving him a retirement match that he does not deserve, because WWE, Goldberg, if you're listening, WWE owes you nothing. They owe you absolutely nothing. You owe them. You owe us. We don't owe you shit. Neither does WWE. Fuck off. But maybe AEW wants to bring him in and give him this retirement that he so desperately craves for some reason. But, in my mind, he retired in 2017. That was his send-off. That speech on Raw, family, the whole deal. As a professional, I don't know what more you could ask for. I don't know what more you can add. And if you came back to wrestle 7 times after that, that's your fucking business. But your retirement was in 2017, and I'll always consider it that way. So Goldberg, go away. Go away. Here's somebody else who's going away, but he might be returning sooner than we think. Shawn Spears is leaving AEW. In a tweet sent out yesterday, Fightful Select reported this, and then just minutes later, Shawn Spears tweeted this, and I quote, "What a wonderful time it has been. Thank you to AEW for allowing me to be there from ground level. It's been a fantastic 5 years of growth and personal development. This is a personal choice and one that is best for me and my family. Thank you to all, staff and talent alike, for the memories 10. So will he be the 10th entrant in the Royal Rumble? It looks like his contract is up, and I guess it's up on January 1st, so I don't think there's going to be a no-compete to worry about here. He is good friends with Cody. He was one of the first people brought into the original AEW. And a lot of people feel like Shawn Spears and QT Marshall both are probably WWE bound. And that's cool, I guess. I have no problem with that. Cody getting his friends hired in AEW was only bad when it was in AEW. In WWE, of course, it's fine. But I like Spears, and he was pretty over with that Ty Dillinger Perfect 10 stuff, so maybe they can resurrect that theme, which actually was a great theme, but it's also been a lot of years now. I mean, he got that one big pop at the Rumble coming out at number 10. Would he get that same pop here? And he's been Shawn Spears now for the last 5 years. So they're going to bring him back as Ty. They're going to give him back his WWE name. And now he's going to be Ty Dillinger again with that jacket with the collar. And is that what we're doing? I don't know. Now, he is married to Peyton Royce. They just welcomed their second child, apparently. And of course, Peyton previously worked for WWE as a member of the Iconics. So maybe this is a way to get Peyton Royce back in the mix. And, whatever her personal deal is, they have kids now. So maybe her focus is on being a mom. But maybe she could also return to wrestling and she could come back in the door, and maybe we could see the Iconics return to WWE, and Shawn Spears leaving AEW might just be the beginning of that. So best of luck to him. But with him leaving AEW, I feel like going back to WWE is probably likely. Don't you? I do. Unless Spears relocates to Australia with his wife, but I don't know. Don't know what their plans are. But yeah, it feels like that could be a possibility of him coming back in. Zelina Vega also has re-signed with the company. Her deal is believed to be for a multi-year deal. So WWE continuing to re-up and re-sign their talent. Last week we heard contract news about Cody, about Charlotte, about Zelina Vega. We know Rollins and Becky Lynch are probably going to be re-upping this year as well. And we still haven't heard anything new about Drew McIntyre's contract either. But I'm hoping they are able to re-sign him as well, because he should stick around in WWE, in my opinion. We also should congratulate Gunther. Gunther and his wife welcomed their new son to the world, born on Wednesday, December 27th. And the reports that I've been reading online is that Gunther's son is already U.S. champion. So congratulations to Gunther's son, born with gold around his waist. That's pretty crazy that kid was conceived and born all within Gunther's title run. That's wild to me. Some good news for our friend Sonya Deville. She has resolved that gun charge that she was arrested for back in February in Atlantic City, New Jersey, after police found a firearm in her car that didn't have a proper New Jersey permit. Now, the weapon was in her car's glove box, and a valet, I guess at a restaurant or hotel, wound up finding it and reported it to the police. DeVille was arrested a short time later, and the court record showed that she was charged with 1 count of unlawful weapon possession. DeVille got the weapon for personal protection after a dude attempted to kidnap her in 2020, broke into her house during that home invasion, and the gun is legally registered in Florida, but not in New Jersey. And according to a report from the Courier-Post, DeVille resolved the charge by completing 6 months in a pre-trial intervention program in late November. So apparently she did have to, jump up through a few hoops to make this go away. But I don't think anybody I don't think Sonya Deville nobody would blame Sonya Deville for carrying around a gun after that very scary incident that took place in her house. That was just so fucking crazy that happened. And I kind of wish she would have grabbed a hold of that little prick and beat the shit out of him, because I think if she would have came face to face with him in that house, she would have eaten that little weird fucker for lunch. And that's just a shame that she's going to have to live with that memory and that fear for her whole life. And now she's packing heat just to protect herself. And I don't blame her. Just got to keep your permits and shit straight and you're fine. This isn't a Cash Wheeler situation. She ain't rolling up on somebody and pulling out her Glock. This is just for personal protection only. And after what she went through, I don't think anybody could blame her. And I would have been personally really pissed if she would have suffered any serious consequences for this. Because if you know the situation, I don't think anybody is going to blame Sonya Deville. But you still have to follow the laws, and you still have to get your permits and your correct paperwork and all of that. And she didn't do it. And now that's all behind her. Very happy for her. Best of luck to Sonya Deville in her recovery too, and her comeback. Hopefully we will see her back in the ring in 2024. Fingers crossed. let's talk about, I love this. Let's talk about Chris Jericho. So Chris Jericho was spreading the Christmas cheer on Christmas morning. He was getting all mad about something here regarding AEW and Brawl Out. So I don't know about you guys on Christmas morning. I'm not thinking about family or the holiday season or putting the turkey in the oven or opening presents or spending time with loved ones. I'm thinking about Brawl Out, because why wouldn't you? And the lawyer, the attorney for CM Punk and Ace Steel, is a guy by the name of Stephen P. New. And a lot of people know of him, and he's been doing some interviews lately. And he was a guest on Rip Rogers' podcast. And among the things they talked about, they talked a little bit about Brawl Out. And when asked about the NDAs, Stephen, the lawyer, says, and I quote, "The only person," and granted, she's not completely objective and unbiased, "the only person not subject to an NDA and not subject to confidentiality provisions is Ace's wife, Lucy. Maybe one day she tells the story." Now, this story was tweeted out by Jericho's Web of Jericho Twitter account. So they tweeted out the story and the quote from the podcast. Jericho then quoted that tweet and said that he didn't sign one. He said, "I never signed an NDA." Of which Stephen P. New responded and said, quote, "It's in your employee handbook unless you have a special one. We can figure it out." To which Jericho replies, and this is dated, or I'm sorry, the timestamp on this tweet was 1:22 a.m. and I'm on the West Coast. So that means Jericho in Florida is tweeting this at 4:30 in the morning on Christmas morning. Christmas morning, 4:30 in the morning. This is what Jericho has to say to Stephen P. New. "Hey, Stephen P. New, I don't adhere to an employee handbook and have never had one in 4 years working for AEW. I've also never signed an NDA in my life ever. Stop trying to be a bully and making egotistical fantasy brags for your clients and start doing some research before you make blanket statements about your buddies. Because I saw everything that night, including how Lucy and her husband and best buddy acted and what really went down. And since I was in the room and watching her and everybody else the whole time, I know exactly what really happened. And considering you weren't there and I was, maybe you should shut your mark ass up, because what really went down was disgusting." Holy shit. 4:30 in the morning, Christmas morning. I want to make that clear that that's when this tweet came through. And then a few hours later, Stephen P. New responded and said, "Thank you, Chris. We will just attach this tweet as Exhibit A. Merry Christmas." So Exhibit A, isn't that usually what they do in courtroom proceedings? Are we going to court over this? Is there going to be a big Exhibit A, a big blown up picture of Jericho's tweet with Stephen P. New pointing to it and the jury and all this? What's going on? Now, one thing that Jericho is right about here is that he was there and we weren't. But we've heard lots of accounts of Brawl Out. Now, we heard Jericho got involved. We heard Jericho yelled at CM Punk and maybe kind of got in the middle of it near the end. But I don't know if anybody was talking about Jericho actually being there in the room when it went down. I don't know if he really saw everything. He might have saw most of it. He might have seen half of it. But I don't remember hearing a report that Jericho was right there for all of it. Because if he was, you would think, there might be an NDA on his end as well. Now, I don't know who was there, who wasn't. There's also been reports that MJF was there and saw the whole thing as well. So we don't know who really knows what. But I think Jericho still has very strong feelings about this. We did hear the reports that he called CM Punk a cancer that night. We heard reports that he said he's going to do everything in his power to not let CM Punk come back, but then CM Punk came back anyway. So the two of them clearly don't like each other. And Jericho just had a lot to say about this at 4 a.m. So he has not signed an NDA. So if he has not signed an NDA, that one would assume that he's legally able to talk about this. So if Jericho wanted to go do a big podcast and says what he knows, he's in a pretty good position because if these other NDAs actually exist, Jericho can say whatever he wants, and Punk and Ace Steel can't respond to it, or they can't rebut or have a rebuttal or anything because they're not allowed to talk about it. So, maybe Jericho knows that. He's using that to his advantage. Hey, nobody knows that I wasn't in the room, but I can say that. And and Punk is not allowed to publicly tell me I'm wrong because he signed an NDA. Maybe that's what this is all about. But the fact that, he's drunk tweeting a lawyer, because I just don't, and I don't want to assume here, but I know Jericho does enjoy the sauce. And why would you be tweeting that at 4:30 in the morning sober? You know what I mean? Maybe you are, but I just kind of have a feeling that it was an alcohol-induced tweet. And that's a little silly to be doing at 4 o'clock in the morning on Christmas morning. Now, Jericho's kids, I think, are all older now, so there's no Santa to wait up for. I don't think they're putting milk and cookies out or anything like that anymore. So Jericho's a grown-ass man, can do what he wants, but I just don't know how smart it is to be tweeting out a lawyer that's representing clients that are involved in the darkest black eye in the company's history. Jericho's one of the faces of the company, and to go out, tweeting this. I briefly listened to like Cornette's video about this on his podcast, and it was funny. I only listened to about 5 minutes, but him and Brian Last immediately started they do a lot of assuming on that podcast, and I think that's why fans like them so much, because they just assume and make up their own stories. And one of the things that they were just assuming, and I think it was Brian who said, obviously what's going on here is Jericho's just trying to get in good with Tony Khan. He's just trying, because he's not in the same position in the company that he was 4 years ago, and he's trying to stay on Tony Khan's good side for personal motivations, basically, was their assumption. And I'm like, how in the fuck can this please Tony Khan? I'm sure that Jericho sticking up for AEW, sticking up for Tony Khan is what he was doing there, but you are not making yourself or the company look good at all, drunk tweeting like a moron at 4:30 in the morning, Christmas morning. If I'm Tony Khan, I'm not pleased about this at all. He's just trying to get in good with Tony Khan. Why would Tony Khan be happy about this? They've already had problems with social media. Daniel Bryan has been appointed. Bryan Danielson, 4 years later, I'm still calling him Daniel Bryan. Danielson has been appointed the guy to hand out fines and sort of police the social media behavior of other wrestlers. But maybe Jericho is not, maybe he's exempt from this just due to his, his experience and his legendary status and whatnot. But, a guy like Jericho, who's had the career that he's had, so many outside interests, he's made so much money. He's a well-known name across professional wrestling. He's got a Hall of Fame career, multiple-time world champion. He's wrestled everywhere. He has a band. He's got lots of outside interests. Money and finances are not a problem for him. So what would be the political reasons for him to do all of this? It's not like, I think Jericho and Tony Khan have the relationship, and nothing that he's going to do here is going to make it stronger, or, and I don't think the relationship has been fractured in any way. And Jericho's trying to get back in good with the boss. Jericho doesn't need AEW. He might want to be there and be a big part of the company going forward. Maybe that really is a big goal for him, and I could understand that. But I think that's an awfully stupid thing to assume, because once you decide to pick sides in a situation, you're just going to automatically assume the worst of the other guy. Now, Jericho, I'm not giving him any passes here at all. I think Jericho looked like an idiot the other night, Christmas morning, tweeting about this type of stuff, when the one day, if we can just please get people to get along and behave civilly on social media, you would think that Christmas Day would be that day. But Jericho stirring the pot here, just getting all a bunch of people mad and butthurt on fucking Christmas, is not a good look for him, at all. So this assumption that, he's just trying to buddy up to Tony Khan, I don't think Tony Khan would be too pleased about this. And I don't know, like I said, Jericho might be exempt from the Danielson fines. And if in all honesty, if I'm someone like Jericho with my Hall of Fame name and my career, it's like I would want to call my own shots too. I'm like, I'm not signing an NDA. I'm not going to be fined for social media. None of that applies to me. Fuck off. I might be the same way, in all honesty, but that doesn't excuse Chris's tweeting behavior. But one thing I don't agree with is that he's trying to improve his situation in AEW with this. A tweet like this is not going to improve his situation in AEW. It's going to hurt his situation in AEW. So I think that when it comes to bad faith, when it comes to people like Cornette or anybody that speaks in bad faith, they make a lot of really inept assumptions. And of course, their drooling, brainless fucking cult just gobbles it up and then repeats it. And then it spreads. And it's probably not even true. So Jericho is a moron, 100%, for tweeting what he did at 4:30 in the morning on Christmas morning. But let's not get stupid about it. So that whole thing is pretty funny. We'll see. Nothing was taken down. Jericho's tweets are still there. So it's almost like he probably regrets it, but he's also probably thinking, I'll look even worse if I take it down. So I went to his Twitter account today, Twitter page today, and he's really tried to bury it. He's been retweeting a lot of shit. He's been just retweeting and quote tweeting stuff, just really trying to bury that tweet down there. But he hasn't deleted it yet. And apparently now with the lawyer saying, we'll attach this as Exhibit A, who knows what could be happening here in the future. And if Jericho did sign an NDA and forgot, then he has now violated that NDA, and we might get some lawsuits here. We don't know, but kind of something I think that wrestling fans and the wrestling community, which is already painfully stupid and toxic as it is, did not need that on Christmas morning. So thanks, Jericho, for stirring the pot on the one day we should have peace. Way to go. My God. Here's somebody that I can see heading to WWE soon, Camille. Camille is finishing up with the NWA. Fightful Select had a write-up on this a couple of days ago, and it does appear as if she's poised to leave the company on January 1st. The report says here that NWA sources claim that Camille gave her notice to the company back in October. She'd retained a 6-month option that would have seen an increase in pay, but instead she had opted to move on. Camille has had WWE tryouts in the past, 2 since 2016, including when she had no wrestling experience. Canyon Seaman, who is now out of the company, took an interest in her in the past. So I remember when we heard the story originally a few weeks back in October, thinking that Camille could be WWE bound. She's another one like Jade Cargill. You get in that performance center, you just get them in there and just make her a star. The two of them hitting the scene at the same time or shortly after each other, sometime in 2024 would be pretty awesome for the women's roster in WWE. So the fact that Camille is finishing up with NWA, I'm hoping she gets signed by WWE. WWE is a place that I think Camille would be better in than AEW because of maybe her in-ring limitations, much like Jade Cargill. Get her in that PC, get her in that performance center with that staff and get them ready. I think Camille could be a major player in WWE, and I hope that she gets there. So that's where I'm expecting her to go. When she wraps up business on January 1st, I think WWE would be a better place for her than AEW, in my opinion. Let me cruise here to the chat and knock out a couple of super chats before we get into our next thing. Would still love the thumbs up button smashes if you don't mind. Hook us up with the likes. Let me knock out a couple of supers here. What's up, kayfabe brother Kevin? Good to see you, man. Thank you for being here. I hope I didn't miss any super chats other than this one from Will Chisholm. Thank you so much for the 5, my friend. What do you think about AEW trying to work with Stardom? What do you think about WWE trying to work with Stardom? I think that's great. I think Triple H has got his finger on the pulse a little better there. Sounds like WWE is going to be the landing spot for Julia as well, which is great. And I think they already have some people in WWE that can kind of be a bridge. When you have some of the women there that have worked in Stardom or with some of the Stardom talent, putting in words for them and stuff, that all really helps. So I have no issue with it at all. Anything that boosts the women's division. And I will give credit to AEW. Their women's division has been doing better. They've been booking it a lot better recently. I still think they have a ways to go, but it's better than where it was because they've been really struggling with the women and having Tony Storm's character here, really take off, bringing in Mariah May, Riho's reappeared, and just the overall booking, is a little bit better. Julia Hart getting on the map and Sky Blue, and they're doing a lot of good stuff with the women, and it's getting better, but it still needs to get even more better. But WWE so far is way in the lead. Leo Whalen, I don't even see the big deal about CM Punk. However, I like that he takes the business seriously and hates the young sucks and twinkle toes. Don't repeat, Cornette. It's so low rent, man. Like, he says it, they repeat. So whenever he has these little shitty nicknames for wrestlers that he hates for no reason, it's weak. It's weak to repeat. Don't repeat. Use your own. And don't adopt other people's opinions as yours. Think for yourself. I'm fucking begging you, please. All you Cornetters out there, think for yourself, please. Spectre, I did miss one of your super chats. Yeah, that's because I closed out of the wrong thing. So I just have to go into another window to find that. Just 2 seconds, and I will get right to it. There we go. Yeah, I can only go back so far on that. So I will. There it is. There it is. Oh, yeah, I see it now, Spectre. Thank you. You tweeted from your car. I remember you yelling at me when I super chatted at a red light. Also, COVID, Goldberg versus the immunocompromised Reigns. Wow. Yeah. So he's saying, Goldberg is saying he had COVID, and he's acting like he's the victim going in to the ring with someone like Roman Reigns, who probably doesn't need to be in there with someone with COVID, is pretty fucked up. Didn't even think about that. But it was when I tweeted from my car, it was hands-free. My phone was on the dash, and I was talking to it. So maybe you did the same thing when you super chatted me at the red light. I don't know, but sorry about that, Spectre. And yeah, found it, man. Let's talk a little bit. I haven't seen it yet, but I've been hearing some reviews on the Iron Claw. Some of you have seen it, been letting me know what you thought. I've watched a couple of random reviews on YouTube, and I don't do depressing. I hate depressing movies. So I certainly don't want to go to the theater and see this and spend money to be depressed. I fucking hate it. Elizabeth made me watch Saving Private Ryan a couple of weeks ago. It was the worst movie I've ever seen. I don't want to watch that stuff. I just hate depressing shit. Just don't like to watch it. But this is a wrestling movie. I'm going to have to see it at some point. So we'll stream it once it becomes available. But some of the common, I guess, critiques of the movie, a lot of people said it's a good movie, definitely depressing. And it's definitely going to make you feel like shit and feel very bad for this family. But there's a lot of the story that they left out because it's a movie, and you can't make a 5-hour movie, you have to keep it within movie length. And they full blown left out a brother. They left out Chris Von Erich, didn't tell much about his story, focused pretty heavily around Kevin Von Erich's life, but not a lot about the other brothers like Kerry and whatnot. The casting apparently was really good for Fritz Von Erich and Harley Race. Not so much for Ric Flair. I've been seeing that clip of the Ric Flair actor in the movie, and that's pretty bad, but he's got the look down pretty well. I will say that. But it sounds like the movie really centered around just the pressures that the brothers were under from Fritz, who's a super demanding father, and they're trying to, navigate the pressures of that, and have this brotherhood. And as the tragedies hit one after another, it's pretty dark. Of course, Zac Efron plays Kevin Von Erich, and Kerry was played, I forget his name, little short actor from Shameless. He's really short. Kerry's pretty tall, and the actor that plays him is pretty short. So some of the casting was perfect, some of it not so much. A lot of the story being omitted, but I'm okay with that because it's a movie. You can't tell everything. And plus, a lot of the wrestling angles, that went on in Dallas and stuff, a lot of that wasn't dove into deeply either. So I think so far the reviews are mixed, but I still think overall the movie's been good reviews in my mind. So eventually I'll see it. I just don't like to be depressed. You know what I mean? But that's basically what I've heard about the Iron Claw so far. I know many of you who have gone to see it have let me know on social media and stuff. So I appreciate your recaps of the movie and what you guys have been saying about it so far. We got to get into World's End here and Dynamite and get this thing predicted and talked about. This week's Dynamite was a pretty fun show. They had a fun dark match before the show. Scotty 2 Hotty, Scott Taylor, who's already been working in AEW, I believe, as a coach, got to have a match. He teamed up with the Acclaimed and Daddy Ass to take on the Guns and 2.0, and he was able to use the original Too Cool theme. Now, the Too Cool theme apparently is part of the music library that AEW licensed to get the Hardy Boys music and the Holly Brothers or the Holly Cousins, Bob Holly and Crash, and Too Cool are all parts of this library. So seeing him come out to that and the fan cam footage was pretty awesome, but that wasn't for TV. The episode of Dynamite was pretty awesome. We had the two Continental Classic semifinal matches, the gold and the blue final, I guess, not semifinal. So the gold final and the blue final. The gold final went exactly the way I predicted it last week, because they set up a triple threat: Moxley, Jay White, and Swerve Strickland. And I was like, perfect. To me, this was screaming a Moxley victory for a couple of reasons. Number one, Jay White pinned Jon Moxley clean in their match like the week before. And Swerve Strickland, as much as we all want to see him pushed, we want to see him going after the world title. And he had that little tease with MJF last week or a couple of weeks ago, indicating that they are going to be headed for a collision course in 2024. Swerve has been on everybody's radar is to be the next guy. He's the guy with the momentum. He's the guy everybody's talking about. He's the guy that makes the most sense, and he definitely should be AEW's first black heavyweight champion. I think that's going to happen for him in 2024. So what I did not want to see happen was for him to win here. I did not want him to. I don't want to see him win the Continental Classic and win all those 3 belts. I think that's better for Eddie. And if there's a way to get Swerve out of this tournament without him winning, that would be the best for his world title aspirations in 2024. And the fact that this was set up as a tie, giving us a 3-way before this match happened last week, I said, this is perfect, because now you can accomplish everything. Moxley can beat Jay White, getting his win back, and Swerve doesn't even have to be in the finish, and he can lose. And that's exactly what we saw. Swerve got thrown off the top rope. He hit the deck on the outside. And then I think Jay White went for the Blade Runner. Moxley countered it into a Death Rider for the win and pinned Jay White. And he now goes on to the finals to face the winner of Danielson and Eddie Kingston. So that was the perfect finish in my mind for that match. Swerve didn't even have to be a part of the finish, and you can protect him. And that's exactly what they did. And I even called out the Keith Lee and Swerve match at World's End before that happened last week either. Last week in the podcast, I said, here's the way it looks to me. We're getting the triple threat on Wednesday for the gold final. Swerve is going to lose that. And since they kind of teased Keith Lee and him on the Rampage interview or whatever that was recently, where Keith Lee called out Swerve, I'm like, there we go. They're finally going to do it. Swerve is not going to win the Continental Classic, but he'll take on Keith Lee instead at World's End and beat him, giving him that momentum right back heading into next year. Plus, it also ties up a loose end, because they still have not paid off the Swerve and Keith Lee stuff from a year ago. So the fact that we're finally getting that, it allows them to tie up that loose end, freeing up Swerve even more for his focus on MJF. I still think he's going to have to deal with Hangman Page next year, potentially another match there. But I think the world title is now firmly in the sights of Swerve Strickland now that they found a way to get him out of this Continental Classic without winning it. And that's another great thing I have to compliment AEW on. They have booked this Continental Classic brilliantly. I had my doubts. I was skeptical, because when Eddie Kingston made that announcement that his titles are going to be on the line, and it really wasn't clear what that meant, they had kind of backpedaled on it a little bit. No, the titles aren't going to be on the line in every match, but his titles are going to be on the line in the tournament. It was just weird the way it was set up, and it had clusterfuck written all over it. And to my delight, it was anything but a clusterfuck. I'm going to miss it. What are they going to do in January without this Continental Classic? I'm a little bit worried about TV now that they don't have these matches on the card for Collision and Dynamite, which were really helping both shows, I think. So I'm going to miss the Continental Classic, because it was so well done and it was so incredibly well booked. Tony Khan's not the best booker. He's not the perfect booker. He does some head scratching shit sometimes, but this was really, really well done. And this whole thing, by the way, AEW has released the entire Continental Classic tournament on their YouTube channel. So if you haven't had a chance to see all these matches, if you want to kick back and, just enjoy your weekend, watch some of that shit, man. It was really good stuff. Now, we also had the blue final on Wednesday as well. And that was a victory for Eddie Kingston. It was Eddie Kingston and Danielson. I kind of thought it was going to be Danielson and Moxley, but Eddie Kingston really did make more sense. People have been calling out Eddie Kingston winning this thing from the minute that he made that announcement of putting the titles on the line. And he did kind of telegraph it there, though, but I still thought maybe it would be a Danielson type of thing, because Danielson winning, if this is going to be an annual thing, I just thought that would be a really great name to have as your first winner. I was thinking along the lines of Bret Hart winning the King of the Ring in '93. I was thinking the same thing for Danielson and Moxley there, but Kingston beat Danielson pretty much clean, won with that spinning backhand move of his, and puts him down and pins Danielson. He now advances. It's Kingston and Moxley in the finals tomorrow. Moxley comes out after the match, and the two have a promo with each other, hyping up this match, talking about their history, and basically Moxley saying that this match could potentially get nuts at World's End. So that was really fun on Wednesday, seeing that all set up. We were supposed to have a sit down with Adam, Copeland, and Christian. We did not get a sit down. We got to stand up and run around and pull apart. Full-on backstage brawl breaks out. Adam Copeland had no intention of sitting down and speaking to Christian civilly at all. He just came right in that room and attacked him, and they had to be pulled apart by security and whatnot backstage. And the two of them are wrestling tomorrow for the TNT title in a no DQ match. And then on Wednesday, finally, we had a development in the Devil storyline. So MJF and Samoa Joe are supposed to put the Ring of Honor tag team titles on the line against two masked assailants. You know, you would assume these are strangers or outsiders or people not under contract to the company, but yet they get title matches and somehow. So we're about to have this match. MJF comes out to the ring first, and then they show on the video wall that Samoa Joe has been attacked backstage. So Samoa Joe's attacked. He's laid out. MJF insists on going through the match anyway and facing these two masked assailants. And when you're watching the match, it's painfully obvious that it's the Kingdom. It's Matt Taven and Mike Bennett. They're the ones under these masks. They are wrestling MJF essentially in a handicap match. A third masked man shows up with a weapon. He bonks MJF with it or whatnot. They pin MJF, use the ropes for leverage, get the 3 count, and win the Ring of Honor tag team titles. Then MJF is attacked. He's swarmed after the match, and that's when Samoa Joe comes out to make the save. He's limping. He's pushing security away. He's coming out there limping with a chair, chases everybody off. And then as MJF is watching the guys leave, we see the video wall come alive again, and it says something like, "Thank you for, or pleasure doing business with you." And then Samoa Joe, and you could see it too, telegraph the hell out of it. He's got a chair in his hand and he's standing behind MJF. So at first I'm thinking, okay, now that they've already lost the titles and MJF has the title shot in 2 days and he's protected MJF up until this point, there's no reason to stay friends with him now. He hits him with the chair and he just takes him out. "I'm going to take your title on Saturday." But before he hit him with the chair, he does this. He does the little devil head tilt. And to me, that indicated that he's been working with the devil the whole time. And the announcers indicated that as well. So that was the big, I guess, swerve. Samoa Joe went heel, blasting MJF with the chair, and revealed that he's kind of been in cahoots with the masked men and the devil all along. So what does that mean for World's End? Are we going to get a big reveal? They did the big media call, I think yesterday, for World's End, and Tony Khan kind of hinted that he expects to see a culmination in the storyline rather soon. So I think we are going to get a reveal at the pay-per-view, and we will talk about who you think that reveal could be. I still feel like the only person that really makes any sense here is Adam Cole. It just depends on what his injury and his rehab and his recovery and how much of this storyline they've needed to change or stall due to that injury. It just depends. I don't really know how drastically they've altered the plans. You know what I mean? So we'll talk about it. I think we have to predict the show right now. But before we do that, let me cruise back to the chat and thank the Juliet, who's gifted Jay Lambo with a Good Mic Work Commentaries membership. Right on. Thank you so much for that. Juliet, you are the best. Stone Cold 10X, thank you for the $5. Wife and I saw Iron Claw on Wednesday. It is good. Do recommend it, Greg. Not perfect, but very personal, which makes it really good. Yeah, I have no doubt it's a good movie. A lot of chatter today I saw online about people wanting a Chris Benoit movie. I'm like, why would you want to watch that? And then I saw people saying, "Oh no, you don't want a Chris Benoit movie." And then people are getting offended by it, and I just, I just think that's such a weird thing to argue about. You know, a Chris Benoit movie essentially would be glorifying him, which I was a massive Chris Benoit fan, loved him as a performer, watched him wrestle and win championships many times in person. I saw some of his greatest moments and a huge Benoit fan, but that all changed the day he decided to take the lives of two innocent people, one being his wife, one being his son. And granted, it would be a fucked up story, you know, much like the Von Erichs are, but I personally have zero desire to see that story turned into a movie. If that's your thing, then that's fine, but you should be able to understand why other people wouldn't want that movie. And that was what was cracking me up, is the people defending this idea. You know, and I'm like, why is it so hard for you to understand that there are people that aren't going to want to watch a movie about that day? Maybe young people are just don't give a fuck, but I was 30 years old when that happened. I remember it very, very well. And it was really fucked up. And the last thing I want to do is relive it. We got Dark Side of the Ring. We had documentaries on it. We do not need a movie whatsoever. But some fans think that a movie about Benoit's life should be made. I do not. But if that's your thing, fine. But don't act like it's weird that other people wouldn't want that movie to be made. You know, Twitter is such a weird place. Wapatapa, thank you for the $2. Remember when it's our truth. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but Dami Lo Busi Kasanaboga. I don't even know what that means. Sometimes you guys tweet me shit or send me stuff, and I don't know what it means. But thank you for that, Wapatapa. I appreciate it. Got that one earlier from Will Chisholm. Right on. Okay, let's see. We have to predict tomorrow's AEW World's End. Just as a reminder, we will be here watching the entire pay-per-view. Will be going live probably around 24 hours from this very moment tomorrow. So we have a couple of matches on the 0 hour. First one is Hook versus Wheeler Yuta for the FTW title. There will be FTW rules in this match. I feel like it's got to be Hook. They did the thing. I saw the little bit they did where he accepted the challenge. Like I guess he's in Brooklyn and he's like on a staircase and he sits down and accepts the challenge for Wheeler Yuta. He didn't sound the way I thought he would sound in his voice. But anyway, Hook is going to be facing Wheeler Yuta, and I think Hook is going to retain that title. This is the 0 hour. Crowd's filing in. I don't know if you're going to have a heel beating a beloved babyface here in the first match, because I'm assuming this will be happening before the Battle Royal. At least I assume. It might not, but I feel like Hook and Wheeler Yuta will probably be the first match we see on the whole show. So I'm going to pick Hook to win that. The 20-man Battle Royal, basically for a Money in the Bank TNT title shot. So the winner of this gets a TNT title shot anywhere, anytime. That stipulation is interesting because I think that opens up the door for potentially a one-night cash-in. You know, maybe if they want to continue the Edge or the Adam and Christian storyline, but the TNT title isn't really needed for a story like that, because it's really not, to be honest. Maybe the winner of this Battle Royal comes in at the end of that and cashes in the TNT title somehow. And like if Adam beats Christian and then the person who wins the Battle Royal comes in and cashes in their title shot, could that happen tomorrow? Could we see a one-night cash-in? That's what it implies. I mean, it says right there on AEW's own match graphic, winner gets a TNT title shot anywhere, anytime. Now, I looked up the definitions of anywhere, anytime in the dictionary, and it appears that anywhere, anytime means anywhere, anytime. That's what I gathered from the definition. I don't know what you guys are reading, but that's what I found. So we could see something happen at the end of that Adam and Christian match that takes the title away from that storyline and puts it on somebody else, allowing them to do a big blow off at regular old Revolution for AEW. Maybe that's what we see. The fact that they get an anywhere, anytime title shot is interesting. Now, who could win this thing? Could it be somebody that could help out Christian? For example, could it be Killswitch, Luchasaurus? Could Luchasaurus win the Battle Royal? And then later on, if Adam Copeland wins the title from Christian, Luchasaurus comes out and cashes in and wins it back and then hands it right back to Christian. We could see that. Jungle Boy has been absent. A lot of people thought Jungle Boy was going to be the devil. He might not be. And I think this would be an excellent place for him to make his return, because if he did, this would rule him out as the devil, would it not? If Jungle Boy came back and appeared in this Battle Royal and then won it for a TNT title shot, I feel like that has nothing to do with what MJF and Joe and Cole and all those guys are doing. And that would be cool, because that means if the fans are expecting a devil reveal at the end of the show, we can now rule one name out. It's not going to be Jungle Boy. So I think Jungle Boy, Jack Perry, I guess he's not Jungle Boy anymore, right? So Jack Perry is near the top of my list winning this Battle Royal. So is Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler, brother of Ryan Nemeth. Maybe he'll be Dolph Nemeth. Who knows what the hell his name's going to be when he comes in. But all of those people that were released are free agents now, or are their no competes are up. So Riddle has recently signed with MLW, and Mustafa Ali has announced his big world tour. So I don't know if either one of those makes sense here. If Ali coming into AEW is definitely something I think that could happen, but Ali might just want to work the independents for a while before locking himself into yet another soul-sucking fucking contract. So he might not be into that. So maybe we can rule Ali out. Or maybe he's signed, he's coming in hard. And he's not only going to win this Battle Royal, he's going to cash in and win the TNT title and hit the ground running in AEW. That's possible. So I think Jack Perry, Dolph Ziggler are two of the top candidates right now, but we don't even have, at least as of me making my notes today, I didn't see the participants in this Battle Royal. So we don't even know who's in it, which makes it impossible to pick a winner. So if I'm right about Jack Perry, then I guess I'm pretty dang smart, aren't I? So let's make Jack Perry our official pick and Dolph Ziggler our second official pick. And we'll see where that leaves us tomorrow. And now it's time for the main card. Main card here. One thing I didn't mention about Dynamite was the big segment with the Callis family and Jericho and Sammy Guevara now coming back together. Jericho's babyface turn is making less and less sense with each passing day. I'm kind of lost now, because the whole reason why Jericho became a babyface to begin with and Sammy and him broke up and now back together, it's starting to not make sense. And that whole segment was just a little bit confusing. But basically, they have to rectify the fact that we're not getting an AEW World Championship match for the tag team titles because Kenny Omega got diverticulitis. So we're going to get something else instead, and I guess it's going to be a big 8-man. So we have two big 8-man matches here on the main card of World's End. So it's going to be Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin. Darby Allin was back. It looked great to see him. He kind of had some purple. I was the one who pitched Darby dressing as Surfer Sting in whatever retirement match Sting has, and he kind of might be on the way to doing that, wearing some purple last night, or some purple on Wednesday, some sparkly purple. So it's going to be Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Sting, and Darby Allin taking on Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Takeshita, and Powerhouse Hobbs. I believe it was originally Kyle Fletcher. Did they replace him with... Did this match get changed somehow? Why did I think Kyle Fletcher was in this? Help me rectify that. But I have it written down as Jericho, Sammy, Sting, and Darby versus Starks, Big Bill, Takeshita, and Hobbs. Either way, I'm picking the baby faces to win here, because Darby and Sting, especially Sting, doesn't lose. And he certainly doesn't lose on pay-per-view, and I don't think he's going to lose here. So I'm going to pick the baby faces in that one. I'm also going to pick the baby faces in the next one, the other 8-man tag we have. It's like an all-star 8-man tag. Most of these guys, I think all these guys actually, were participants in the Continental Classic. Claudio, Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, Danielson, and Mark Briscoe taking on Brody King, Jay White, Jay Lethal, and Roosh. Danielson, losing on Wednesday to Eddie Kingston. Granted, Danielson does not seem to give a shit at all about doing jobs. He seems to be enjoying it, actually. So I don't know if both of these 8-man tags are going to be won by the baby faces, but I feel like they have to be. The babyface team, I think, is a little bit stronger. White, though, could also use a win. Roosh is a badass. Jay Lethal went 0 in the Continental Classic. And, of course, Brody King's the best. So I could be wrong about this, but I'm going to go with the team of, and I guess they're not even really baby faces, but Mark Briscoe's on the team, and he's definitely a baby face. So I'm going to go with Briscoe, Danielson, Garcia, and Claudio to win that one. Miro is taking on Andrade one-on-one. This one feels easy to predict because we've been hearing reports about Andrade heading out of AEW or potentially leaving when his contract is up, going back to WWE, going to work in Mexico. Lots of plans for Andrade. So I can't see him really winning this. So I feel like it's going to be Miro. Now, I don't know if CJ Perry is going to be there. I think she is, but there is no way that mangled digit is even close to being healed yet. She had chunks of that thing taken out in surgery. So granted, she's not a wrestler. She doesn't need to do anything too physical, but she might need to be out there to potentially turn on Andrade because the two of them, have absolutely no chemistry. This lighter and this bottle cap have more chemistry than those two. So they might want to end that and have her turn on Andrade, realign with Miro, but not even sure if CJ Perry is going to be there. I'm assuming she's out of the hospital. And it's just a finger, that probably just needs to be bandaged up. But she shared with the world her disgusting finger the other day. And granted, we're all thrilled and happy that her surgery was a success and the infection hopefully was cleared out of there. But she had chunks of the finger missing. So I just hope she's well enough to be a part of this if she's going to be a part of it. So we'll see. But I think Miro makes the most sense to win there. We're getting that Swerve versus Keith Lee match as well. Again, super easy to predict this one. Swerve all the way, gets him right back on the winning track, after his loss, which was even protected on Wednesday, just 3 days later, back in the ring. And like I said last week, when they teased this match, Keith Lee made mention of Swerve in that interview. And I said before Wednesday, I said, cool. What that tells me is they're going to protect Swerve in a loss on Wednesday, and then he's going to face Keith Lee at the pay-per-view, and boom. How right was Greg? Swerve all the way in this match. He's going to beat Keith Lee 100%. Unless we get an interference from Hangman Page, who might cost him the match and have Keith Lee win, leading to another match between the two where Swerve wins, and that will be considered the blow-off. Otherwise, it might just be one and done here for these two guys. One match, Swerve wins, and that's it. But I still feel like Swerve has to win here. So I will predict Swerve Strickland over Keith Lee. Julia Hart, we have a couple of women's title matches on this show. Julia Hart is defending her TBS title against Abaddon. Julia all the way. She is doing fantastic, and her alliance now with Sky Blue has been a lot of fun. Sky Blue and Statlander, incidentally, had a pretty good match on Wednesday as well on Dynamite. But Julia all the way here. She will retain over Abaddon. Adam Copeland versus Christian. TNT title match, no disqualification. The fact that it's no disqualification is another reason why I feel like it's like I've been mentioning with Damian Priest, that if he's not going to cash in the briefcase when he has golden opportunities, they better give you a reason as to why he can't cash that in. Like Sami Zayn stealing it, like Rhea Ripley putting him in timeout, shit like that. The same thing might apply here to this TNT title shot. Because unless this Battle Royal winner gets injured in his victory, if that Battle Royal winner who has a match on the pre-show and has all this time to recover from the Battle Royal, he might not even have a very hard time in the Battle Royal. You never know. Why would he not want to come out on capitalize on two guys that are literally trying to kill each other? Adam is going full sling blade here on Christian. He's pissed and pissed badly. And not only is this match no DQ, it's very, very personal, which, implies that we could potentially get a serious kayfabe injury here where one of these guys gets seriously hurt. And if that happens, how is the winner of the Battle Royal not going to come out here and cash in? So I'm going to make a bold prediction here. I predict that neither Adam Copeland or Christian will walk out of World's End as the TNT champion. I think the winner of the Battle Royal is going to walk out as TNT champion. That's my prediction. That's a big one. Now, I don't know if that person is going to make this a triple threat or if they're going to beat the winner. That I don't know. So I feel like I still need to predict a winner in the match, and I'm going to predict Adam Copeland. So I think this is where Christian loses the championship, but then we could see Adam Copeland turn right around and lose it himself. Or maybe they could save that for Wednesday. There's a lot going on in this card, so having a cash in here might be a lot going on. You might just want to save that for Wednesday. But if you have a no DQ match and Adam Copeland, it's one of those deals where he's pinning Christian for the victory, but after the 3 count, both men stay motionless just because it's been such a brutal match, and maybe it's some crazy, top rope move or whatever. Both guys are out, and Adam throws an arm over Christian. Referee counts 3. He's the new champion, but he's unconscious. Come on. It's got to be the Battle Royal person. Who was the first person who took a bump for Edge before he came back? Remember SummerSlam? Who'd he spear that night that got that chatter going just a few months before the Royal Rumble? Holy shit. Edge got physical. He speared somebody. He could make a return to the ring. Who was that? Who was it? Mr. Ziggler, Mr. Dolph Ziggler. So Dolph Ziggler showing up, winning the Battle Royal, and then coming in on cashing in on Edge might be fun. It might be fun. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But that is an option there now that I think about that. Okay. There's a good idea, Juliet. I forgot about him. I forgot about that little fucker. So Juliet says Nick Wayne for the winner of the Battle Royal. Yes, that would basically be the same thing that I mentioned earlier with Luchasaurus. But also Christian's been pretty abusive to Luchasaurus, so I couldn't see Luchasaurus or Killswitch coming out there winning the Battle Royal and handing the belt over to Christian. But I could see that with Nick Wayne. I don't think it could be Elias. Oh, Edge speared Elias in 2019. Thank you. Not Dolph Ziggler. I thought it was Ziggler. Why did I think it was Ziggler? I'm thinking of Goldberg. I'm thinking of the Goldberg-Ziggler match. I'm envisioning Ziggler getting speared and selling it like only Ziggler can do. It's Goldberg. You're right. It's Elias. And Elias is also one of those names that was released, but he wouldn't be as fun as Ziggler, I don't think. So, yeah, thank you, the Juliet, for telling me 7 times that it was Elias. That would still work, though. My idea would work because he is gone from the company. His no compete is up, too, and he could turn up in AEW. Totally forgot about Elias. Nick Wayne makes a lot of sense, too, for the same reasons that I mentioned Luchasaurus winning. So Nick Wayne winning the Battle Royal, then coming in at the end of Christian and Edge and cashing in, plus his mom's involved. I kind of want to go and change my pick now to Nick Wayne winning the Battle Royal, but I also think that Nick Wayne winning the Battle Royal might be kind of predictable, that he would then cash in on Adam Copeland later. But oh man, I'm gonna keep my pick of Jack Perry. I think I'm gonna keep my pick of Jack Perry, but Nick Wayne makes a lot of sense, and so does Elias. Sorry about being wrong about the Ziggler thing. I was thinking about the Ziggler and Goldberg match, but it was Elias who took that spear from Edge that got all of us wondering if maybe he could come back to the ring. Interesting. So, yeah, I'm picking Adam Copeland to win the match, but possibly and likely lose the TNT title to whoever wins the Battle Royal. Final answer. Toni Storm defending her AEW championship against Riho. We love Riho. She's an OG, but she's going to go down here. Toni Storm will beat her, and she will beat her. So I like Toni Storm a lot. I'm not taking the title off of this phenomenal character right now. And as good as Riho is, Storm's better. She's the best woman they got there. Keep Toni Storm rolling. Toni Storm and Julia Hart both, they have excellent champions over there right now in AEW for the women. Continental Classic Finals, Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston. You know, I don't think Moxley and Kingston's promo on Dynamite necessarily gave anything away, but it really feels like this is Eddie's match to win. I just can't see it going any other way. He was the one that originally put his titles on the line to begin with, which might have been a way to telegraph the winner here, but luckily this tournament was booked so brilliantly that I'm okay with maybe them kind of making this slightly predictable. It was just really well done. Like, it gives me optimism. It gives me hope. The fact that Tony Khan could take something like a round robin tournament, something that could easily be cluster fucked to death, and he did anything but with it. It sounds like they gave this thing time. They put thought into how to structure these matches, who's going to win what, who's going to win, how they're going to protect people in losses. And the whole tournament felt important, felt like it had stakes, and all of the wrestlers crushed it. The matches were good. It's one of the best things they've ever done. And it's funny because you guys go back to the podcast when we learned about the Continental Classic, and I was like, I don't know. This doesn't sound great to me. Just too much going on. I didn't understand the Eddie Kingston stuff, and I just worried that it would flop, and it literally did the opposite. So it's been tremendous. And at the end of the day, I think it's got to be Eddie Kingston. I think Eddie Kingston will beat Moxley. When you're beating Danielson clean to get to this match, I feel like the fans want this for Eddie. Eddie's, he's been getting his flowers finally. He's finally gotten some recognition. He won the Ring of Honor title and everything, but Eddie Kingston has one of those connections with the fans. It only takes one promo for him to sell a match. It only takes one promo for you to believe every word he says and to get invested in what he's doing. And I think the fans have always appreciated that about him. And I think this is Tony Khan's way of giving Eddie Kingston the flowers of his career that he's always, really dreamed of. I mean, this is going to be the most exposure, the most success he's ever seen. He's beaten some big names, and he's going to beat a big name in the finals if he's going to win this. And he's going to be carrying 3 championship belts that I guess are going to be unified into one. And one of these titles is the Continental Classic title that hasn't even been revealed yet. And we'll be getting that tomorrow. I'm picking Eddie Kingston to be the winner of the Continental Classic. Even though I think I picked Danielson right from the beginning, I feel like it's going to be Kingston getting the win tomorrow over Moxley. And that leaves us with our main event, MJF defending his AEW World Championship against Samoa Joe. Normally, when I see, somebody standing tall, holding up a championship that's not theirs on the go-home show, that means they're losing. And I kind of feel that way here about Samoa Joe, but I'm not completely confident about it because you have to factor in the AEW Devil and what exactly they're going to do. And Tony Khan in the media call yesterday made it sound like the AEW Devil probably will be revealed tomorrow night. So if that's the case, the only person that's really made sense at all from the beginning to be the Devil is Adam Cole. You go all the way back to last summer, Adam Cole and MJF and their little adventures and their escapades and their bromance that that grew and bubbled, and how Adam Cole was actually able to change MJF and have, and get MJF to let his guard down and be a little bit vulnerable and actually be a friend. And you could see, it was a reluctant friendship, but it was definitely there. And slowly MJF turned into, a very, very good babyface. I mean, he's done a great job. I didn't think someone like MJF could just switch that quickly to a babyface, and they did a really good job of, kind of slowly transitioning him into that person that you could tell now all of a sudden isn't full of shit. You kind of believe him. You believe his sincerity and everything that he says. And that was all really well done. And then Adam Cole gets injured. But had Adam Cole not gotten injured, the storyline that makes the most sense for the Devil is for it to be Adam Cole. He's the one that really makes the only sense because of how he was able to change MJF, into a babyface and lure him into this false sense of security only to capitalize and take his title. But now he got injured. So what the fuck do they do? How far along is Adam Cole's recovery? Is he out for another 6 months, or is he out for 2? Because if he's only out for another 2 months, that's Revolution. So you could do a big reveal at the end of World's End to either have Samoa Joe win the title because he's in cahoots with the Devil, so maybe this is a small compromise to get Samoa Joe the title, and Adam Cole's motivation is going to be taking the title from MJF, but since he can't currently do it because he's injured, they're using Samoa Joe to do it instead. So that could be it, and then Samoa Joe, I guess, would reveal that he's a part of this faction with the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, who are obviously Taven and Bennett. Wardlow is apparently involved in this as well. And then the Devil himself, who could reveal himself to be Adam Cole. So that's one way to do it. Or you reveal the Devil as Adam Cole, but you do it maybe after MJF retains, perhaps, because I think Adam Cole is going to be in the building. He'll be in attendance. So maybe MJF somehow retains, or maybe Adam Cole comes out there with crutches and helps him retain. And then after the match or during the celebration of MJF's victory, Adam Cole turns on him there, revealing that he's the devil. And by the time Revolution rolls around, Cole could be healthy enough to work a match. That meme of that little girl? I don't know. Or that monkey that's going, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you do here. But if they are going to reveal the devil as expected, like they're teasing that they're going to do, I don't think that anybody else can be the devil that would really make any sense other than Adam Cole. So that's who I want to see the devil be. If they reveal it to be somebody crazy, you're just going to wonder, did they make that up on the fly? Or there's no way that could have been the plan all along. Like if it's Dolph Ziggler, there's no way the plan was for him to be the devil all along, because he wasn't even in the company when they started that. And if they reveal it to be Tony Khan, then you're just higher powering this shit, which would be stupid. I just don't know who it could possibly be other than Adam Cole, because if it turns out to be Adam Cole and then he builds his own kingdom, and you've got Taven and you've got Bennett, Kyle O'Reilly apparently is healthy again. He could come back into the mix here. You could get, an Undisputed Era-esque type of faction here. Plus you have Wardlow to think about and Samoa Joe. And once the devil is revealed, that part of the angle might be done. The masked assailants, the guys under the mask, nobody knows who they are. Nobody knows who the devil is. The devil mask might go away. The masks for the henchmen might go away. And we might just wind up having ourselves a nice little Undisputed Era type of faction here, maybe now called the Kingdom. And when we saw how entertaining the Undisputed Era was in NXT and how fun they were, this actually could be a really great thing. But I think it might be hinging on the injury of Adam Cole and how much recovery and rehab time he still has left before he's able to return, or return enough to where he can be on TV to further this angle. Because if he can walk a little bit or whatever, they could technically do this while he's injured and just keep him out of the ring until they get to that point. But if he reveals himself to be the devil, it's going to be really hard for him to be on TV injured, because MJF is going to want to get to him. So maybe that's the point. Adam Cole is going to be protected by a shield, so to speak, of this faction. And they could tell the story of the next couple of months leading up to the match between MJF and Adam Cole, of MJF trying to get to him, but just not being able to, because Adam Cole literally has a shield around him. So MJF might have to get creative and find ways to get himself alone with Adam Cole. And if we do get a couple of little tastes of that on TV, that could be really entertaining. So I think best case scenario, MJF finds a way to win here. Adam Cole reveals himself as the devil, and they do Adam Cole and MJF at Revolution for the championship. But if Adam Cole's not going to be healthy enough by that point, then you're talking Double or Nothing, and I don't really know how you stretch this storyline. And then if you do, it's going to have to be all these months of Adam Cole, on a crutch, or basically being protected by his people, and MJF, trying to get to him somehow. I guess that could be one way to tell it. But then if they do that, what does that mean for Samoa Joe? This is a guy that forfeited his Ring of Honor title to go after the world title. With Adam Cole hurt, I feel like Samoa Joe would be a great guy to hold the AEW world title. But I don't know. I don't know if he's going to win it. I think he might not. And if he doesn't, think about this. If he doesn't win the title and MJF retains, by the way, I'm predicting MJF to retain. That is my official prediction. Could happen a lot of different ways. He might not even get the victory. He might lose via DQ, and then we get the devil reveal as a way to make the DQ okay. He might not win, but I think he's going to walk out with the championship. And if he does, that means that MJF will have held the AEW championship in 3 different years, right? 2022, 2023, and 2024. So even though he's only been champion for a year and a couple of months, it spanned the course of 3 separate years. And that looks pretty cool. So MJF, I predict, will retain. I don't know how he's going to do that, especially if he gets help from the devil, and I thought Samoa Joe was in cahoots with the devil. So what the fuck? I don't know. I don't know what anything means. It could mean that, Samoa Joe was done wrong. Maybe Samoa Joe decided to be in cahoots with the devil. He thinks that's going to get him to the world championship, and then the devil or the henchman turn on Joe and help Max retain, only to reveal that it was Cole the whole time. And then maybe Samoa Joe was like, okay, I'm going to be back on the same page with Max because I just got fucked too. And now he and I both are going to be coming after Adam Cole. I don't know. That could be one way to do it as well. So we will see, but there you go. There is my AEW World's End predictions for you. We will hang out here a couple of more minutes in the chat, and then I will get out of here just in time for SmackDown to start. SmackDown goes live in 6 minutes, and it's just going to be a 2023 best of recap show, much like we saw on Raw this past week. I didn't watch any of Raw, didn't see a single minute of it this past week, and I don't think I'm going to see a single minute of SmackDown tonight either. So if you guys are watching it, I hope you enjoy it. Let me see. Stone Cold, I got you. Wapatapa, I got that weird one. And then I have one here from Dan Price. Good to see you, Dan Price, man. Happy that you are here. Thank you for the $10. The Devil storyline reminds me of the Black Scorpion in WCW. It does a little bit because of the outfits. And Juliet says, what if MJF is the Devil? He could be, but then again, what would his motivations be for that? And Britt could be the devil. Britt is going to be, I don't think Britt's going to be the devil, but she could definitely be a part of this too, especially if it's going to be Adam Cole. MJF being the devil, I don't know. That's what Roderick Strong just keeps screaming that. And I think it would be funny if Roderick turned out to be right, but I also think it makes a lot of sense for Roderick Strong to be accusing MJF, knowing very well perhaps that maybe he's in cahoots with Adam Cole, and it's going to be, I forgot to mention Roddy earlier, but in the Kingdom, having Adam and Roddy and Taven and Bennett and forming, an AEW version of Undisputed Era could be a fuck ton of fun. So I feel like it's better if it's Cole than MJF, because if MJF is the devil, I don't know how that's going to help him. I guess it would help if it was the ultimate swerve on Samoa Joe, but if Samoa Joe was working with the devil, you would think that Samoa Joe would know who the devil is if he has to speak to him or whatnot, unless he has to go through his henchmen. But I feel like Samoa Joe would insist on either knowing who the devil's identity is or speaking to the devil directly before making any business deals with him. See what I'm saying? So if MJF is the devil, that means Samoa Joe was in cahoots with an imposter, or, maybe never got a chance to speak to the actual devil himself. And maybe that was MJF's only way out of this. I don't know. I don't know how that would work, but I know MJF is on the short list of top candidates to be the devil, is MJF himself. And I definitely think Roderick Strong is definitely involved with the devil, and Roddy could also be the devil himself because he has hated and resented MJF's relationship with Adam Cole ever since the beginning. And he's been the loudest accuser of MJF. So Roddy being the devil would also work, but I just think it works better with Adam Cole. You know what I mean? And clearly Wardlow is a part of this as well. So yeah, Andrade, I've got him losing to Miro tomorrow. I feel like return to WWE. We've been talking about that a lot lately. I think that's definitely something that is possible. So we'll keep our eye on it. And I think that is going to do it for my notes. We made it to the end on a fun Friday podcast. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Don't forget to join us tomorrow for our big AEW World's End live reaction. So if you can't watch it on pay-per-view, watch me watch it on pay-per-view, and I'll do my best to describe what it is I'm looking at tomorrow night for World's End. I'm really looking forward to a night off from work, hanging out with you guys, tossing back some cold ones. It should be a blast. So thank you so much for being here this afternoon. Again, happy holidays and happy belated Christmas and early New Year to all of you. Thanks again for another great year, and looking really forward to hanging out with you guys tomorrow night for the AEW pay-per-view. Y'all have a good rest of your Friday. Talk to you.